over the weekend, the Farm Bill had another attempt on being passed, and it failed. So the Republicans and Democrats are doing the same thing they always do. They're blaming each other for much needed disaster relief to pass. And so we're kind of at a standstill at this moment. And we're seeing a lot of farmers who've had 3 years of negative income, and so there's really not much that they can do about this situation, because if you followed the commodity markets, they're pretty terrible. Corn hasn't been great. This year was pretty terrible. The year before was okay, and then the year before that was decent. And so farmers have been struggling quite a bit with being able to achieve, a fair price in the markets, trying to sell their goods. And so it's caused several years of negative income. And not to mention, we've had pretty terrible weather these past few years. We've had hurricanes, we've had droughts, we've had heat that has gone over. I mean, in our place alone, we had um, last year we had 60 straight days of over 100-degree weather. And so you try growing corn in that, you're going to have a significant impact on its production and its productivity. And so it also causes you to have to run your irrigation um, 24/7, which um, turns up your energy bill by quite a bit. And so we've also had an influx on energy prices. So uh, there's just really not a lot of hope either for the future. And so the markets do not look like they're going to be any better this next year, or any reasonable time in the future that they'll be good. So I mean, it's looking pretty bleak. And so over the weekend, one of the largest creditors sent in a draft to Senator Chuck Schumer, just asking to see if they can, push this forward and, make it to where the bill will pass, because a lot of farmers who are young and beginning, or even, farms that have been around for a long time, they're starting to feel the strain. I know most certainly in our area, even the big time operators who have been, you know, farming this area for a very long time, who have tens of thousands of acres that they farm, are suffering or have bills that are just uh, they're just outrageous because of the cost of everything. I mean, you're not just dealing with one natural disaster. You're dealing with several things that have compounded together. Our interest rate is is about 9 to 9.5% on our operating loan, and so we've used ways to combat that interest. We use StoneX. So if you're a farmer and you haven't heard of StoneX, look them up. They'll help you combat your interest rate and bring it down. And that's just and they provide a really good service. And so by no means am I being paid for that or anything. They're a great company to work for or work through. And I don't work for them. They're a great company to work through and to help bring that interest rate and help unburden some of that interest rate that you're having to suffer through. And so really, I mean, so the weather's been terrible. Anything and everything you can think of, we've gone through. Too hot, drought, too much rain during the wrong periods of time, flooding out seed, wind blowing the seed out of the ground. Uh, it's been very interesting in this area to be a producer, and what we produce feeds a lot of cows. And so if you like, reasonably priced beef or lower priced beef, I mean, we need this to pass through so uh, farmers can push through. But anyways, this isn't something that hasn't been seen before by farmers. And so my advice to you is just to push through it, get through it, and and there will be better times. And so, hopefully, the Republicans and Democrats can work together to push through something that would be beneficial to the American people and not to the Taliban or to anybody else. They send hundreds of millions of dollars to foreign countries who do not have our best interest, uh, but they can't send money to their own farmers who are going through a lot of natural disasters and a lot of problems. And so we're not necessarily feeling the strain personally as much. We are tightening our belts, and which means that we are not purchasing equipment and we are not doing replacing things that we normally would do. So normally we would keep a tractor for about 5 years and then we would trade it off for a tractor that has about 1,000 hours on it. And this has made it to where that's an impossibility. There's no way. So since we're usually the second buyers, the the dealerships who rely on second buyers to come in and purchase their equipment are having to do auctions, and that means they are losing quite a bit of money. So the dealers are suffering quite a bit, and they're not able to push equipment. So farmers are suffering. So there's there's a lot going on outside of just farming that this farm bill will help. It'll help out communities in the agricultural industry, and so it's really something that would be beneficial to small rural areas. And if they can't get together and work on this, which they usually don't work on things that help, uh, you know, the regular people like myself and the people in my community, um, that's just the way it works. And farm credit, I'm going to tell you that this right here is going to be sent to an intern. An intern will look at it. He'll categorize it, or he'll move it up the chain to the legal aid, and then they'll write you a nice little letter that they're working on it. And that's about all that's going to be done with it. And so hopefully these guys can get it together and act like adults and push something through that'll benefit people.